Let me introduce myself. My name is СШ5 Бубен. I am the pupil of the 10th form, school number 5, Mosty. Limerick is an unusual genre of the English poetry. Poetry, it is our emotions, feelings, and the state of our mind. I am a big fan of poetry. I try to read everywhere. I am keen on English poetry. In my collection there are a lot of poems, but I couldn't pass indifferently by limerick. I like to read limericks very much. Since then started my disease of limericks, and I began to make the collection of these unusual poems. Today in my collection there are about 100 limerick. What is limerick? It is a special English poem. Limerick was found a middle way between breeding novel and short proverbs, and the plot usually follows the classical scheme: the plot, development, culmination, conclusion. Its name was received from the Irish town of Limerick. England is a country where Limerick is the site of authentic humor. That's why the topic of my research is relevant. I think it is important now, because it gives us the idea about the English folk art, gives the opportunity to more deeply explore the folklore, and gives the possibility to use them on the English language lessons, as well as to read in your free time. Hypothesis is to prove that Limerick, like the original genre of English literature, has its spatial repeating and build structure. The aim of my work is to give an idea of the Limerick as a special genre of poetic creation. The object is to research comic English poetry. The subject is to study Limerick as a genre of English poetry. The work was carried out in the following way. At first I have learned English folk poetry. Then I have tried to learn the information. What is the Limerick? When and where did they appear? What are the features of phonetic building of this poem? What is the style of speaking? Why the rhythm of Limerick is spatial? And I have read a lot of limericks, all of them written by English poets. And at the end of my research, the conclusions and results were formulated. I use the next methods: analytical and exploratory, theoretical and systems analysis. It was necessary to solve the following tasks: get acquainted with the English poetic folklore, to explore the history of Limerick, determine the specific of phonetic organization of this genre, its speech, style, rhythm, generalize the information. According to my research, it was determined that Limerick is a very common genre in the English literature. I enjoyed the Limerick were written by Fredkin, Kipling, and hundreds of famous poets. But the first author of limericks was Edward Lee. Year 1846 was important for Edward Lee. One after the other were published his 3 printed works. A Book of Nonsense is the book of funny poems, and they were illustrated by the author. The rhymed and rhythmical form of limerick is almost always the same. Limerick consists of 5 lines and has a kind of poetic meter. In the first usually describes who and where there was. The second introduces some interesting feature of hero. The third and the fourth lines are short. They tell us of unexpected and often incredible events. The fifth line is pretty long and the funniest. Sometimes it is similar to the first one. As a rule, limerick begins with the words "the was a", which corresponds to Russian folklore, "жил-был". The heroes of limericks are cranes and oddities. Look on screen, you can read. As a result of my research, I did the conclusion that limerick is a special English poem that has its spatial, repeating, and build structure, original speaking, and spatial rhythm. My work has practical application. It can be used as additional material on the English lessons, also as phonetic charging, development of creative abilities of pupils. This material can be applied not only in the English lessons, but also on the lessons of Russian language and literature. At the beginning of my statement, I said that I like to read limericks very much. Since then started my disease of limericks, and I began to write these unusual poems and try to illustrate them. You can see them on the screen. Thank you for your attention.